My dad sent me an article from the New York Times Magazine that was on video game addiction.
Oh, sick.
And I always like reading these to try to understand. The New York Times Magazine is not for me. It's for my dad. So it's for that generation to describe something. My dad doesn't play video games, and I doubt many of the readers of New York Times Magazine do. So it's interesting to see how they introduce this topic. But the biggest thing that I took as they describe these people who are addicted to video games and whether it's an addiction or not, if it qualifies, if only drugs should qualify, if addiction is defined by a particular substance or of a set of behaviors that are independent of the substance. I tend to believe that it's a relationship with something that is compulsive and you continue doing it despite the fact that you have evidence that it no longer serves you and makes you happy. But what I thought this was interesting. They talked about video game, and this was proof. A typical gamer in the United States spends 12 hours playing each week. 34 million Americans play an average 22 hours per week. 60% of gamers have neglected sleep to keep playing, and 40% have missed a meal. 20% have skipped a shower. And this was in the context of, wow, video games are this big thing. Yeah. And I was like, what if we just subbed out work for video games? Okay. A typical worker in the United States spends 40 hours working every week. They work this much. Have they ever neglected sleep to make it to work? Have they ever skipped a meal to work? Have they ever missed a shower to work?
No.
Some of those
stats are different than others. 12 hours a week is nothing. I think the average American watches 5 hours of TV television at night, right?
Yeah.
The losing sleep one, I think, is indicative of a bit of a compulsion, though.
Sure. And I'm not saying that I think video games fit the prototype of something that is going to give you dopamine in that particular scheduled way. And I believe that video game addiction is as much a thing as heroin addiction and work addiction.
Sure. I'm just saying, if you are someone watching this and you play video games for 12 hours a week, you're cool by me. If you find that you want to stop at 10, you go, I'm going to stop at 10. Mm-hmm. I'm going to play till 10:30. Mm-hmm. One more level. It's 1 a.m. I got to beat the boss. And all of a sudden it's 4 a.m. It's like, yeah, you have a bit of a compulsive issue.
Yeah.
And so it's weird that they all got lumped together, I guess.
I thought that it was interesting because what I saw in this article is that it starts with the mindset that addiction is particular to drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And then they go, okay, well, gambling too. And then they're kind of taking, I think, my dad's generation through this new paradigm of addiction as not so much related to the particular substance, but related to one's relationship with something, whether it's used in an escape and if it's used in a compulsive manner. And
what about dating?
Dating, I don't see why not. And
Have you ever missed a meal? Have you ever lost sleep? Do you spend more than 12 hours a week? Not even with your person, fighting or thinking about them? Or...
Yeah. So the question that I would ask, what are the things in my life, it could be video games, absolutely, that I have evidence do not make me happy or serve me, yet I find myself compulsively doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you don't have any of those hard addictions, drugs, and if you don't even have any of the more common soft ones, gambling, etc., you'll find that there's something that you compulsively do. Because I've been trying to sit still in my room, and I can't. Mm-hmm. I purposely try to sit down there and not use the internet, not read, not something. And what I find that I believe drives everyone is the inability to sit still with oneself and be okay. And I need to cultivate that in myself because I'm addicted. I'll be addicted to anything. Yeah. Whatever you give me that gets me out of sitting still, I will latch onto that thing and come back to it, even though it doesn't make me happy.
I say we go back to the good old days before video games when everyone was just an alcoholic. Just go back to the simpler addictions.
That's really positive ones.
Drugs and alcohol. Let's go back to the 70s or the 40s.